is. No, we're live now.
Nice.
We're live with Kyle Brown. What's up, man?
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. Kyle Brown is a celebrity trainer, fitness guru, and expert. Also the creator of the Fit 365 shakes, which you've probably seen in Whole Foods. He said he's making a vegan one for me here soon enough.
You got it.
As soon as you do, I will buy it and I will use it.
Awesome.
I know you're a genius in this stuff. And so what's happened basically is a lot of people are doing this intermittent fasting. I've seen advertisements for it on Facebook a lot. I see a lot of it getting a lot of traction and action in those posts and advertisements. And then what made me reach out to you was I was having meetings with people, like I always do, and in the same day I had 3 different people tell me they were doing intermittent fasting. I thought, okay, now it's become cool, clearly, or it's a fad or whatever. Is it a fad? Is it real? Is it someone who's just marketing a good idea that no one has known about? I mean, what is this intermittent fasting thing?
So I think it started, and we were all intermittent fasting experts back in college.
Okay.
So here's my theory on it. You'd have your dinner, you'd go out, you get a little hammered, and you'd pass out, and you wouldn't wake up till like 2. So your first meal's around 2. So you've actually intermittent fasted all the way throughout. So that's back when we were all intermittent fasting experts, and that's probably why most people gain all their weight after college when they get into the workplace. So I think that's kind of the gist of it. But intermittent is the most difficult part of intermittent fasting.
Okay.
Understanding the word intermittent, which basically it all comes down to the idea of a period of rest and a period of consumption, right? So if you look at the animal kingdom, you have the difference between a zebra and a lion. Zebras eat 80% of the day, right? But what they're eating is grasses with next to no protein, right? Or next to no calories. So they're munching, moving around all day long. They're awake most of the day. Male lion is the ultimate intermittent faster. How often is he awake? Well, he sleeps up to 20 hours a day. And the female does the hunting and raises the kids. So he just kind of sits there, and the only thing he has to worry about is if somebody's coming to take over his pride because they see he's got the greatest job on the planet, right? So that is intermittent fasting, right? That's why he's so jacked. Like, how's he staying so jacked if he's only eating 4 hours a day?
Yeah.
He's only awake 4 hours a day.
So it works then.
Totally.
Is what you're saying.
Totally. It works. There's definitely some caveats to it. Probably the biggest caveat that I think people mess up on with intermittent fasting is they mistake it for extremely low calorie dieting, right? So they're like, well, if I don't eat breakfast, then instead of my magical number of 1,200 calories, I'm only eating 900 calories. Well, after about 10 days of intermittent fasting, where you're going on an extremely low calorie diet, now your metabolism is just going to adjust because your body adapts to any stress you put upon it. So the big thing you want to be aware of during intermittent fasting, it doesn't mean you go on a huge caloric restriction. That'll work in the short term. It just means you're condensing the window of which you're eating.
Interesting. So you eat the same amount of calories in a shorter window of time.
Exactly.
Now the guy who is, and by the way, didn't you write a book about zebras or
Yeah,
something?
How much does a zebra weigh?
How much does a zebra weigh?
My first book.
And what is the, just for people, so you can find this book in many places online if you want, how much does a zebra weigh?
Amazon's probably easiest.
And can you tell us what the, not the answer, but what the idea was behind that title?
Totally. So the overall theory is, imagine you are a Martian and you're looking down at this ecosystem and you have all these different animals, including the human being. And the one animal that thinks it's the king of the jungle, the human, is actually the most hilarious because we're stuck in our brains. So you have all these animals working in symbiosis, knowing when to eat, what to do, how to do everything, and then you have this one sitting here trying to measure, track, count everything, figure it all out. That is the only unintentionally overweight, obese animal on the planet. So we're also doing some of the coolest stuff. So if you just look at the food system as like, how does the rest of the animal kingdom work, figure things out, eat, measure things, how does their digestive system work? It creates a bit of definitive nutrition, and then everything else just kind of becomes hilarious. So the answer to how much does a zebra weigh, to ruin my book here, because it's really not ruining the book, is who cares?
Doesn't matter.
Scale weight is the dumbest thing in the world, right? If you walk into a club and you sit there and you're looking around the room and you just naturally will go attractive, not attractive, attracted, not attracted. You aren't sitting here looking at the girls going 132. 123. No one knows anyone's weight except for your knowing friends, right? That's the only weight you know.
If you tell them, that's the only way.
Oh yeah, because you're like, oh my God, I'm up 2 pounds. Oh my God, I'm down. Like, nobody cares. But we use that to judge and decide whether or not we're happy people or not. some number. If a zebra saw a scale in nature, what would it do? It would smell it, say it's not edible, and probably defecate on it. So that's sort of the gist of it. But the technical answer is somewhere between 400 and 900 pounds. But are you going to not like zebras because they're not in the right weight category? No.
They're gorgeous animals and they're made of muscle.
Bingo.
So it doesn't matter how much they weigh. That's the point, right?
And a zebra has no idea how many calories it ate. Doesn't know what a calorie is.
Doesn't care, doesn't need to know.
No, it doesn't know what time it needs to eat. Neither does a lion. It just follows the natural circadian rhythm, which is actually where a lot of this intermittent fasting comes from.
So it's natural? Yeah. The intermittent fasting is a natural part of it?
Totally a natural thing. Think about it this way. This is kind of my own thoughts on this. We don't naturally wake up next to a refrigerator in nature. Right?
That's true.
If you went to bed, you hike Torrey Pines all the time, just like I do. I'm there right around sunrise, around 5:15 or so in the morning, or right as I catch the sunrise. I'm in there when the park isn't open. Sorry, guys. So I just like to break those rules. But as I'm sitting there in the morning, the last thing I have is a refrigerator right there. If I want to get something, I got to go get it. I got to hunt or I got to gather. So are you going to be able to hunt and gather? You don't naturally wake up and go, food, anywhere along those lines. You've got to get up, you've got to protect yourself, you've got to figure things out, and your body is primed to have all of its natural hormones. It's testosterone, it's growth hormone, anything that is, we'll call it your macho hormones, are revved and going to give you natural energy, so you don't need to wake up and go, oh my God, I'm famished, I need to eat. So we technically were primed for intermittent fasting.
So meaning not to have breakfast, is that what you're saying?
Basically to shorten the window of which we eat. You wake up. And what is breakfast? We all have breakfast, which means break the fast. And the fast means I stopped eating at night. So whenever the sun is going down, we're typically not eating, and our body is naturally following that 24-hour circadian rhythm, which is telling us, okay, time to stop eating, time to go to bed, time to rebuild, repair, restore. That's when you plug your cell phone in. So right around 5 to 7 o'clock, pancreas stops producing insulin, which means it doesn't need the insulin to process that sugar. It still will, but it's just naturally not doing it at the same level. And your body's going into repair mode. It's kind of like shutting your laptop down. So that happens in that 5 to 7 window. And then all these different repairing mechanisms and hormonal processes all happen during those hours all the way until you're up. So as your body's repairing and we're getting into that time of, okay, now it's wake up time, the last thing we're really supposed to be doing is like, okay, wake up in the middle of the morning to eat, right? Or stay up past 10 o'clock. So like 10 to 2 are the most important hours to be asleep. So then you take nature and you apply it to humanity, which is like, okay, I don't want to be the one guy who says, oh, it's 10 o'clock and we're having a good time, I'm going back to bed. Because we don't live in a bubble. So
do you intermittent fast?
Depends on the day. In general, yes.
Is it something that you have to do every day in order for it to work, or is it something you can do sporadically and it works?
You can literally do it today and not do it tomorrow, and then do it the other day. So there's a lot of research on alternate day fasting. A lot of times that's based on a little bit more of a caloric restriction in between days. And I think the gist of intermittent fasting to look at it is stop obsessing over everything being just about fat loss. There are so many other benefits. Longevity. You know, they've seen some stuff with alternate day fasting increasing lifespan up to 30% in rats. And most intermittent fasting studies are all done on rats, not done on humans. Because, again, there's so many human variables because we're the messed up animal.
That's right.
Including there's, okay, who's paying for this study? Is it Kellogg's? Is it Quaker?
Who's going to, yeah, exactly.
Is it the dairy industry?
Yeah, correct.
Who's going to cover it?
And what's their angle?
Well, intermittent fasting is kind of a funny thing because, like, right, I sell a supplement, and a lot of times this works perfect as a breakfast. Quick, easy, convenient, on with your day, right? But who's going to fund intermittent fasting? Like, you can't sell them anything. Like,
that's right.
A water company?
Don't do anything.
Exactly. I'm going to fund the research, and I'm with the water company and only do my water. And then you have like the coffee with butter concept, which I think can be very beneficial for brain function, but it stops your fast. So if you're doing that for intermittent fasting, you're technically not intermittent fasting anymore. You put something in you. But are they going to fund it, right? So who's going to fund the research on intermittent fasting?
We've always been told, or I was told growing up, and I believe it was even taught in the schools, that breakfast was the most important meal of the day. True? Not true?
Well, totally not true. I think that's the short answer. There's no such thing as a most important meal of the day. Now, your insulin levels are at its highest first thing in the morning. Your body's really prepped and primed like for that breaking the fast, that first meal of the day. But what time should that meal be? I guess that's the thing. And again, no other animal in the animal kingdom has a watch, just the human. So the plus of having a good breakfast is you're not going to be eating as much garbage at night, but that's also kind of not true. Typically, that's what's sold to us in the marketing side is like, okay, well, if you have a breakfast and you have a good lunch and you're not going to be ravenous at night and just eating a bunch of stuff. The truth is, it's a bandwidth issue, psychological bandwidth amongst humans, where you're making decisions all day long over big things that matter and little things that don't. So by the time you get to the end of the day, you burn out your mind decision-making muscle. So you're also not go, go, go. And now you're sitting down and you're going, TV, something, food, oh my God, I'm starving, I need to eat a bunch of garbage. And then you're creating a habit, and then it's subconscious. I need to sit down and I need my this.
And a lot of, I've definitely noticed this, and if you ever sit down, if you're ever a creepy weirdo like me, and you sit down and watch people eat,
Yeah,
it's almost an entirely unconscious process. The most compulsive thing we do, I mean, even if you're a brand new baby, you know, like, all right, I need to get some food in here. So it's the most hardwired compulsive action that we take on a regular basis. So if you aren't aware or conscious of what you're eating, if you're not thinking about it, and that's one of the things I think that's helpful really about any kind of diet, is at least to get you to start paying attention, like what am I eating, what's going on, what am I putting in myself? It can be helpful.
Totally.
And they can all work, I think, just by making you aware of what's going on. How do I feel right now? Do I really need to eat anything? You know, that chocolate, mint, chip, Klondike bar sounds great, but do I really need it?
Yeah.
No, I just want it.
No.
So am I going to be okay if I don't have it? Yeah, I'm going to be fine. So it's like just that awareness, I think, makes a big difference. So you're saying that now the guy who's on Facebook, he says that you need to do 16 hours of intermittent fasting, meaning that the last time you eat at night, so you're eating in an 8-hour window, and then you have a 16-hour window where you're not eting. Is that too much? Is that the right amount?
Well, if you do 15, you're going to die and your life is over, and you might as well just give up because no one's going to be your friend anymore. And nothing's going to work. That is the standard protocol that's kind of becoming the mainstream push, a 16-8, right? Because they're really good at basic math. 24 minus 16 is 8. That's awesome. So the truth is, it's a good guideline in general, but for me, there's multiple factors. There's biochemical individuality, which is how does each individual work, right? So you have, in science, they have this thing called the lark and the owl, which is like, are you a morning person or are you a night person, right? And then you have things like I've worked with a lot of like rock stars and rap stars. So I've had to design their dietary systems completely the opposite because they're like, I stay up till 4. My most creative hours are between 2 and 4. I'll be like, we're gonna need to stop that. I know you had that concert at night, but I think we got to do the concert like when the blue hairs are out, like 4 o'clock, and then we all go to Denny's, and you're in bed by 9. Like, you have to make the conditions work for you for when you figure out each one of these systems. And what is the best window for intermittent fasting? You have to make it fit in your social life too. I know we were chatting before with regards to families, right? Looking at a jacked bodybuilder who's 21, 22 years old, spends all day in the gym and saying, this is my nutrition guru, yet I'm a married 35, 40-year-old guy with kids, it's kind of funny. I personally, when I had kids, went on and apologized for everything I said about how to raise your family, feed your kids, and everything once I got to that point. Because your system completely changes. So there's things called social individuality, which does not fit into any of this stuff, which is all about why are we doing or caring about any of these things in the first place?
When you say your system changes, you mean your body chemistry changes?
No, your daily system changes. Like, okay. I now go to work these crazy hours, and I also have kids that I need to feed during certain hours. And I have to stop being so ego-driven and self-driven, and I have to transcend that and now look at self as me, my wife, my 2 kids, my 2 dogs, my 2 guinea pigs, and my fish. So I got a baseball team here, right? So me is now 9. Me is now not 1. And that happens to every adult once you hit a certain age, unless you're just riding solo, but we're a communal animal. So you have to look at social individuality to say, like, you know what, let's look at today a little bit in advance. And today, I'm gonna have a business dinner at 8 o'clock. I'm not gonna cut myself off before then because I have this 8 o'clock business dinner. I'm not gonna say, you know what, I'm gonna miss out on this opportunity. Or let's say you're going on a date night and it's dinner and a movie and a concert or something like that. Like, oh man, my whole program is ruined because I'm not gonna intermittent fast tonight. The beauty is your body can adapt to any one of these stresses. So doing the same thing over and over and over again, a lot of times is actually not the greatest thing because your body's adapting to it.
Interesting.
So giving yourself a little bit of leeway is that way. And the whole point of all of this is not fat loss. It's improved quality of life, right? Why do you work out? You want to improve your quality of life.
But no, the guys on Facebook are saying it's about getting ripped.
Yes, because they found a way to make money. They found a way to make money by hitting pain points off of not even selling people supplements. That's pretty amazing.
So the intermittent fasting does not help with fat loss?
It totally can help with fat loss.
Okay. But that's not the point, is what you're saying.
Unfortunately, people don't get invested unless you address their pain. And most people's pain right now is, I'm fat, solve this, right? But why are you fat? Most people don't peel back the layers. What's going on with your quality of life? Now, you can get fat loss benefits from it. First and foremost, you're not spending all day long shoving food into your mouth. 1977, 3 square meals a day. 2018, you need to eat every 3 meals, you're gonna die, or every 3 hours you're gonna die, right? And you need to have all these snacks, right? Again, just pull yourself out of this ecosystem, look at the way things used to be, look at nature, and you'll be like, do we have a watch in nature? Is there another animal with a watch that says it's 3 hours I need to eat or I'm gonna die? No. So we eat just too much in general. So people are getting fat loss benefits first and foremost because they're eating less hours, right? And they're not, I need a snack or else my life is over. So I take that and I look at one of the other really popular dietary systems, which is keto, which basically means fat as fuel. Here's the thing. Naturally, if you start using fat as fuel instead of sugar as fuel, you're not having this energy roller coaster of like, I have high blood sugar and low blood sugar where you're going up and down and up and down. If you're using fat as your primary fuel source, dietary fat, you're gonna have fairly sustained energy and less ups and downs, so you'll stay pretty lean and clean, and you're gonna have less hours of being hungry because fat is satiety, it leaves you satiated. So people who do like a ketogenic diet in general do a lot better, and it's way easier for them to follow an intermittent fasting protocol.
What is a keto diet?
So a keto diet is like your body can either use glucose, sugar as fuel, or it can use, you know, fat as its fuel source, dietary fat as its fuel source. So a keto diet is just saying, okay,
What
of
do
the
you eat
percentages.
in a keto diet, let's say? Like,
Well, you could even do vegan keto. It's
Really?
a lot harder, but you could. I've got a friend who is like that right now, and he's
I've got a
pretty
friend who's
ketogenic.
afflicted with
He's one.
what you have.
He suffers.
He's like
he
you.
suffers from that. Yes.
And,
he has eliminated his canine teeth and gone straight to the flat molars, and that's it. But he's made that choice. Again, everything in life is choice, and it's just a lot harder to do keto as a vegan.
But you don't recommend a vegan diet. You're not. You don't recommend that, right?
It all depends on why you're making that decision.
Okay.
I find it funny that in general, people are more into their nutrition system and their belief pattern around nutrition than they are into their spiritual religious beliefs anymore. That becomes their new cult. So they do it with veganism, they do it with paleo, they do it with keto, and if they aren't 100% that, they feel like they're not living up to who they really are in their identity, so they have to like put a hood on and sneak into McDonald's and have a hamburger bite, right? Like, oh my God, if anybody ever saw me here, I'd rather be caught with like a line of Coke than ever be caught with like a piece of a filet mignon. It's like, principles are one thing, but the rigidness is what's creating all the problems.
How much should you listen to your body? I mean, how much is because just the reason I went vegan was I was eating. I remember specifically the first time because I used to have mignon Mondays. I used to eat filet every Monday.
Yeah,
that was one of the things I treated myself to make Mondays not suck. Right, we do a lot of things to try to make Mondays not suck. That was one of the things I did.
I like it.
And
I like the name.
Yeah, it's, hey, Mignon Monday, man.
Yeah.
I even bought a grill specifically for it. And you know, one time I was eating carne asada at a birthday party, and I took a few bites and I was like, oh man, I really don't feel good. this doesn't feel right at all. And so I stopped eating red meat at that point for a while. I was like, I'm gonna stop eating red meat for a while, I'm gonna just eat chicken. And I started eating chicken, and then I had red meat a couple more times, and each time I had it, it made me sick. So I just said, all right, I'm done with red meat, I'm just gonna eat chicken and fish. And then just slowly, one by one, I never really liked fish. I was just eating because I thought it was healthy, you know, low calorie, high protein, all those things you hear. Then I cut that out. It was just chicken.
Yep.
And then eventually I was just like, I watched the documentary, Forks Over Knives, and I was like, okay, I'm going straight vegan. I threw everything out, and I started doing it, and it really worked for me. I felt great. You know, I lost a lot of weight. I was always like 230, 235. I dropped 30 pounds, you know, in like 6 weeks. And I just felt, so for me, it was more about listening to my body, you know, and it's just, this is what it wants, this is what it likes, this is what it prefers for whatever reason.
Intuition is your greatest nutritionist, period. Listening to your own body, your own self, and the decisions that you're making along those times. The one place where people make mistakes, and it sounds like you did not because you did a thorough process, is they mistake sugar addiction for intuition. I need sugar right now, my body's telling me that. Like, no, you're addicted, no different than Coke. You're just looking at it as not being a drug. I'm of the mindset, if you look back in time, there was a time where if I told somebody that cigarettes were a drug, they would laugh at me. My grandmother had emphysema at the end of her life because she smoked cigarettes solely because she was prescribed Virginia Slims by her doctor.
Seriously?
Oh yeah, because she was dealing with depression over divorce. You need to smoke cigarettes.
Her doctor told her.
That was normal. If you look back into the 40s, 50s, 60s, it was very normal. It was prescribed. And now we eventually then went from socially required, like you smoke, to socially acceptable, to socially frowned upon, to you can literally slap it out of somebody's mouth and say, stop smoking, you're killing everybody, including me, right? I feel like eventually we will go that way with packaged processed foods. So they're like, don't you miss these things? And I'm like, they're poverty foods, they're drugs. Most of these things were given to us because of scarcity, because we're dying. The kings and queens weren't eating those things. So you can do that, paleo, like I do. You can do that, vegan, either way. But why would you choose the lowest common denominator food and look at that as like, oh, I'm missing out? I'm like, why, if you're gonna have ice cream, for example, why not go with the most decadent possible thing? Vegan version, non-vegan version. Why would you go for like, oh my God, I need a Snickers bar? It's like, it's satisfied. It's because we're marketed that crap.
Yeah.
Sorry, Snickers. Don't sue me.
No, that was definitely a plug for Snickers. Anytime you say it, you know, that's good.
True.
Now, but how do you encourage or teach someone to listen to their bodies? I've tried to teach my daughter this. Say, listen to your body. She said, oh, Daddy, but my body's saying I want ice cream right now. No, that's your mind, not your body. So, how I personally know how I'm able to do this, and I can tell right away. You know, if I crave something strange, like you'd never just crave spinach, but if I walk into a place and I look over and see someone's having an arugula salad, I will probably order it because I'm like, yeah, I want that. And I know that's my body, not my mind.
Totally.
So how do you kind of get over that hump? Because that's not just a problem for kids, that's a problem for a lot of people.
Awesome question. Starts this way. So if you look at just, again, backing it up, we're looking at humans, and we're saying 98% of all people who lose weight, aka go on some sort of change and plan and try to transform, gain it back within about a year. So most people are failing at this. And it's because they're focused on the problem, not the opportunity, and they don't transcend themselves and look at a bigger reason and why. So the problem with kids is you don't have full frontal lobe development until about 20. Like, how often have you looked at a kid and tried to tell them something like, yeah, it's probably not a good idea when you have spaghetti on your hands to put it on a wall. Yeah, I get it, that makes perfect sense. And then they do it. You're like, so if they're pre-20, you're kind of stuck. Sorry, you're just sort of done. You try your best and then you're done.
Gotcha.
Now, if we're going over 20 and we're looking at the adult market, it has to be internally driven, right? How often have you seen somebody preaching politics, religion, food, anything like that on social media, and then the comments underneath it are, you know what, you're right, I'm changing. That's a great point. I'm totally swapping beliefs because you yelled at me and called me a moron. So it's the same sort of thing. And when you look at like, how do you follow your own intuition like this? The best charts I've ever seen take a little bit of work. And you do it for a few days and you sort of look down and you eat your meal. And if you want to do it without the charts and you just want to do this, so like, What about keeping not just a food journal of here's what I ate, aka number of calories? What about keeping a food journal that's sitting down and you're maybe popping pictures of the food because you don't need to do this, and then after the meal, 20, 30 minutes later, like, how do I feel? Did this food give me energy? Which is technically what calories are, units of energy. Did this provide me more energy, or did this rob me of energy? Right? Like, do I feel like crap afterwards?
So take note of how you feel versus what you ate.
Totally. How do you feel from what you ate? Oh, you know what? Most people are it's like an alcohol tolerance. I get made fun of because I'm a super lightweight. I was just with my family up in Tahoe, and we were sitting there, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna be one of my few nights a year where I drink, so I'm just kind of letting go. I had one little scotch there, and I'm sitting at the table, and I'm like, I kind of feel like this scotch looked at me and punched me right between the eyes. And I was done. I'm like, okay. They're laughing like, oh my God, he's a 200-pound athlete and he's got no tolerance. And I'm like, you mean I haven't built up an immunity or a wall to deal with toxins? Isn't that a good sign? Does that mean my system's working really well? And it's the same thing with all this garbage food. So if you go back to where you were when you were doing, you know, your Monday meat days, I bet you there's a lot of other pieces of the puzzle that probably weren't primed. And you're probably unconsciously eating, and you probably built up a tolerance. Like if I were to go over to Padre Stadium and have like a dog, although they have some of the best food, I would have to say, of any stadium.
True.
It's gonna thrash me. If I did a dog and a beer, I feel horrible. The average person can eat any of this stuff with no feeling at all because they built up like this lack of feeling. They don't understand how that food affects their body.
Because the body's so adaptable
totally
to whatever you and however you treat it.
And I flip it on them, and I look at like where you're at right now. I bet you taste fruits and vegetables in a way that somebody who doesn't eat them regularly and eats all this garbage doesn't. You get them like they're on steroids. Like, whoa, that watermelon was so good.
No, literally the watermelon I had last night was like, it felt almost like I was cheating. It felt wrong. It tasted so good that it was just like, I shouldn't eat this.
Totally.
But I'm like, no, it's watermelon. My only rule for myself is if it's a one ingredient food, if it's a food that came out of the ground, I can eat as much of it anytime I want. So that's the one thing, and I had that with my daughter too. And I don't know if that's nutritionally correct or not, but that's a running rule we have. If she's ever hungry and I kind of like, oh, we're eating dinner soon, or you know, it's too late, she knows she can ask for tomatoes, she can have an apple, and she doesn't have to ask.
I like that rule, because let's back it up for a minute. So a lot of people say, well, that's because you're vegan. So I'm going to flip it over to a carnivore diet where they just eat steak. And let's look at a lion, for example. You think a lion's going to go kill another animal and sit there and go, you know what? I pulled out my digital scale and I weighed out 4 ounces and I had 5, but I'm going to put this other one in the refrigerator. No other animal in the animal kingdom sits there and says, I think I need to stop because that's too much. Your body naturally will stop. Your dietary fat will leave you satisfied, your fiber will leave you full, your protein will give you energy. It naturally knows how to take care of itself. It's this thing that gets in the way. That's it. So if you're sitting down having real food at night, one ingredient food, awesome.
Yeah,
great. You feel pretty good on it, right?
I felt great.
Guess what? If you start gaining 20, 30 pounds and feel sluggish, maybe it's not the right thing for you.
Yeah, but that's not happened, and it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
We are live on Facebook here. It looks like Gil has tagged a few people. What's up, Gil?
Thanks, Gil.
You can say what's up. You can, if you have questions for Kyle, we have a celebrity fitness trainer, Kyle Brown, in the studio today. He's the creator of Fit 365 Shakes, which you can find in Whole Foods Market, which is now owned by Amazon. And so this intermittent fasting thing is legit. Let's just recap a few things. It's legitimate. It's normal. It's natural. People are sort of forcing themselves to do it because the way life has been created, the way meals are created, the way food is marketed to us, and the way people think. I mean, a lot of people believe that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You got to have a good breakfast. You got to wake up first thing and eat 1,000 calories. But what you're saying is the reason why fasting works is because it's more in line with circadian rhythm. You are not supposed to eat immediately upon waking up. You're supposed to go hunt, go walk around, or exercise. So that was going to be my next question is, are you supposed to exercise first thing in the morning? A lot of people say that they like that better than anything else.
Awesome question. Because again, a lot of that's based on what's called your chronotype, which is, are you naturally a morning person? Are you naturally an evening person? as well as just how you adapt. So I don't know if I was naturally a morning person, evening person, probably leaning more towards morning. I know high school I had swimming, I had to be in the pool at 6. And then now I'm up at 3:30 every day, sometimes 4. I get up and I try to win my day first. But that first little bit of time when you're waking up, about the first 30 minutes or so, you're in like a theta state. You're very easily manipulated, similar to like hypnosis. So that's when I do things like meditate, prime myself, get ready, affirmations, everything. And then typically I just do best training first thing in the morning and kind of go in there. Maybe I'll have a little bit of coffee and then go train.
Does coffee count? Does water count in this intermittent fast? What's considered fasting? What are the rules?
Totally depends on the type of fast. There are water fasts. There's like a religious fast where having absolutely nothing, not brushing your teeth, not having friends around you because you probably don't smell too good because you're not doing deodorant, anything that's considered work. But typically with intermittent fasting, as long as it doesn't contain calories, you're okay. So you could do a coffee with like a natural sweetener and not put any cream in it, and you're technically still fasting, meaning that your body doesn't have calories that it has to work with. So instead of dealing with digestion, your body is working with burning its own natural fat, basically as a fuel source. One of the things that's kind of cool during that first time is, you know that feeling like, oh, I'm hungry. And everyone talks about, oh, ghrelin is this hormone, ghrelin and leptin kind of getting mainstream, but ghrelin, not only is it that hormone that sends that hunger signal, it actually also makes you really alert. So your focus is way better typically in a fast in the morning. A lot of people are like, you need to eat breakfast because you need fuel for your brain first thing in the morning. Not true. It actually works opposite. When you are hungry, what's the first thing that's going to happen if you're not having to deal with energy for digestion? Your body's going to adapt to it and you're going to be really alert. And you'll be really mentally alert. Why? Because you're now in tune. Hey, I feel my body. Most people don't feel their body most of the day, right? So I'm alert, I'm in tune, I'm thinking a little bit better, a little bit clearer, and then I'm prepping myself on with the day.
Because you're going to go hunt and find the food.
Totally.
And so your body's ready, like, okay, I'm hungry, that means I need to have my A game so I can go find food.
Because you're going to go either hunt or gather, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to hunt or gather, which means you're going to do work, which means you're going to exercise, work out, right? In nature, we did not walk into an office, sit down, and start doing mathematics, right? If we did that, we would be sitting at a rock, sitting or doing something, and some animal's going to eat us. And I'm thrilled that we've eliminated ourselves from that. I always say, like, as far as evolution goes and the hunter-gatherer thing, because I'm fairly big and involved in the whole paleo community, is that I am thrilled that I'm not 100% paleo because we've eliminated ourselves from that. I have air conditioning, toilet paper, and the only thing I need to worry about hunting me is a cougar at Whole Foods when we get some almond milk. So we're pretty good there. And if they catch me, it's not too bad. It's not the end of the world. So it's the adaptation to 21st century. And now with working out, when do you feel best working out? Do you feel best working out in the morning? Do you feel best working out at night? Phil Heath, Mr. Olympia the last couple of years, he trains at like 10 or 11, I think, at night. It's incredible. I couldn't do that. My brain just isn't functioning. I'm burnt out. That's his prime time. The other side, Mike O'Hearn, who's Titan on American Gladiator. Dude's got the 4 a.m. crew, which means they're in the gym training hard at 4 a.m. Both look phenomenal. So the ideal time to work out is when you're actually going to work out and enjoy it and keep it sustainable. Same thing with intermittent fasting. The best fast for you is a fast that is sustainable. So some people do really well on an 8-hour window. Some people do well on a 6-hour eating window. Some people do really well taking one day where they do intermittent fasting, the next day where they don't. So it's like finding the conditions and making them work for you. Meet people where they're at.
So there's no one solution for everyone is basically what you're saying. In fact, it needs to be very customized. Now, you said something earlier, and we were talking about your book, How Much Does a Zebra Weigh? Yeah. And of course the answer is, who gives a shit? Yeah. It's a gorgeous animal that's made of pure muscle, also vegan.
Yes, it is. It's jacked. It's a jacked vegan.
It's jacked vegan. Every horse is a jacked vegan.
Absolutely. Same with the gorillas.
But do you? Yeah, that's right. That's my favorite vegan meme. Is this mean-looking gorilla, and it says, "Ask me again where I get my protein from."
Yeah. Oh, I got it.
But now you said something about a scale earlier, and that scale weight is silly. but do you think people should own scales?
If they're competing in the UFC, yes. That's about it. There's pros and cons. I think it really depends on the individual. We are naturally built to get little rewards along the way, right? Hunting, for example, you get these little dopamine hits of like, ooh, I'm getting closer to that. Ooh, I'm getting closer to that. Gathering, same thing. Like, oh, I see the apple, dopamine hit, keep going towards the apple. Now, a scale is a nice awareness tool, right? So I'm measuring myself and I'm aware, hey, I'm probably slacking a little bit on my game plan and my strategy. So it can definitely work there. It gives you that daily awareness. Obsessing is that as the only component is the huge problem.
Okay.
I have had clients who, after like a 3-week period, says down 2 pounds and they are like in tears, or even up 2 pounds and they're like in tears. And then I say, okay, look at your photos that you just took every week, which I make people do, which I think is much more valuable. And they'll look at week 1 versus week 3, and then they'll be in tears. They're like, oh my God, look how much just changed in 21 days. You look different. Again, back to the like, what's the purpose? Even if the purpose is vanity, do you know what anybody weighs besides your annoying friends or the people that you ask or yourself? You don't. So it's lean muscle to body fat percentage that is 10 times more important. So like a body fat test, for example, or photos, and then also how do you feel, how do you fit in your clothes. So there's a lot of other measurement tools that I think are way better than the scale. It's kind of one of many, but nowhere near the lead.
Yeah, and then the reason I ask this is because I get on a scale twice a day. When I wake up in the morning and before I go to bed at night. And for me, it's been huge because what it does is it helps keep you in check.
Yep.
Before, going way back, is like, okay, it's at least a benchmark. At least if this scale is consistent, if it is measuring accurately the same every day, then at least it's telling me where I am versus yesterday.
Yep.
Or where I am versus my normal. I told you after eating the watermelon last night, I woke up about 1.5 pounds higher than I normally would, or what I would consider to be normal in recent times. And all that does, it didn't change anything.
Yep.
It didn't change what I did, but it just made me aware of it, that maybe I have a little more fuel in my body than I normally would. So maybe I don't need to eat as much today or have that snack. It just sort of makes you aware of, I might be all right.
Amnesia is one of the biggest problems with scale. If you're doing it twice a day and you're not sitting, and it's all, again, the response to the scale. If you're hopping on the scale going, oh my God, I'm up 3 pounds from night to morning, like, yeah, water weight, you should have anywhere from a 3 to, depending on the body and the size, right, a 3 to 7 pound weight fluctuation first thing in the morning, empty stomach, to nice full belly at night, right? So there is a fluctuation. If you're letting it dictate your happiness, there's a problem. If you're using it as a gauge to keep you going, it's one thing. The second side to it is what's called scale amnesia. Sounds like you don't suffer from it because you focus on this is how I eat, this is how I live, this is how I train. You focus on the process, not the result. Some people eat like crap, don't take care of themselves, don't work out, don't do any of these things. And then they like, oh, I got back and I step on the scale and they go, the program's not working. Like, no, the human being isn't working. They aren't taking self-responsibility.
Yeah.
So there's an amnesia factor where I've had people over the years when I've had them weigh themselves and they're like, well, this isn't really working. But then I'm like, did you forget that you just drank every single night, ate total crap, missed these 3 workouts, did this? So it's like, if it's a piece of the puzzle, yes. If it's your only determinant for whether or not you enjoy your life, you're missing out.
And we talked about making it fit into your life. What's up, Chris Sprague? He says, cool topic, good info, seems I fast naturally. Me too. I didn't realize that I was doing a good thing there, but it has definitely been working. And I think you've mentioned a number of things today that are super helpful, and the fasting thing is maybe a fad. The different diets and whatnot may be a fad, but it's the awareness. So if you're using the scale as a tool for awareness, if you're using it to help you, to keep you going, but it's not something that's going to cause you, depending upon what the number says, to be super happy or super sad, then you're going to be okay.
Mindfulness, you're using it as a mindfulness tool, right? Think about what mindfulness is. Mindfulness is simply not being in the past, not being in the future, being here, present, right now. So when you step on that scale and you look down, for that moment you're mindful. You know exactly what's going on at that one moment. that's a valuable tool in that sense, right?
Yeah. Makes you present. Yeah, it's like, hey, this is where we are right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where we were yesterday. You're only in control of where you're headed. Now, you talked about, people being on different programs and doing things different ways, and everyone can kind of do something that works for them. I find that, and this is what you've already said, but when I have the control over it, based on what's happening, that exercising in the morning, I like to do Torrey Pines as early in the morning as I can. It seems to be when I feel the absolute best. Like if we're just saying, so one of the biggest takeaways I think for today is when you're eating, to not just necessarily look at calories or what am I eating, but how do you feel afterwards? I would say the same thing about your workout, because I know a lot of people who go and do these crazy workouts, run themselves ragged, and then they're like broken afterwards.
Yep.
And that can't be good either, right? I mean, like you can work out too much or too hard. Like you should feel good.
The top peak performance, so a lot of what I do is all based on peak performance. The top peak performance equation for fitness, the mind, business, everything is stress plus rest equals growth, right? So there's good stress, eustress, and then there's the bad stress, like distress. So if you're in this situation, let's say you just had a really hard day at the office, or you're sitting back and you've got back pain or different things going on, or you're so much work stress, maybe going in and you haven't slept and you're exhausted, maybe going into the gym and saying, all right, I'm gonna go at 60%, 70% is a really good thing, versus I'm gonna try to set a PR right now. What does a world-class athlete, I've worked with a decent number of Olympians, so what do they do right before? What does a swimmer do? It's called tapering. They give themselves a rest period so they're mentally fully primed, their body's relaxed before they go into a top-level competition. But for some reason, we think like that we need to just run ourselves ragged at business and rest is for the weak and hustle, 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 and then now I'm going to go into the gym and I just worked a 12-hour day and got screamed and yelled at, and I'm going to go try to set a PR right now. Why do you think chiropractors are loving this stuff right now? Why, physical therapists, all those industries are way up because people are getting hurt way more because they're training with super high intensity, trying to push, no pain, no gain, without being primed.
One of the things I've definitely noticed personally is that the hikes are the way to go for me. The higher impact stuff is not good. Biking is not good for me just from a back standpoint. Running has seemed to cause me more pain than anything else. Lifting, I was getting hurt a lot. I was trying to do everything right, and it seemed to me that yoga, hiking, stretching every day, doing a lot of stuff like that has been good for me. And then just being aware from a dietary standpoint. One of the things I was going to say earlier that I forgot was alcohol. That was the biggest thing that I noticed, is that in sort of not really drinking hardly at all, when I do, it's amazing how terrible I feel, how easily I feel terrible. If I can have 2 drinks and feel terrible the next day, 2.
Yep.
Like 2 glasses of wine or something, on a date night, or we're out with another couple or something, 2 glasses of wine, it's like nothing. Don't even really feel a buzz or anything, like not even really feel it much, but feel terrible.
Yeah.
Awful, like as if I had drank all night long and it takes me a day to recover. It's also amazing how much that affects my appetite and things like that. Like the next day I'm all out of whack. I feel like I have to eat more and everything just seems to get thrown off. So it seems to me like alcohol has a lot of really bad side effects that either people are building up tolerances to, or we're just sort of accepting as okay because, well, we have to drink.
So at face value, alcohol is a neurotoxin. Toxic for your neurology, your nervous system, your body. You are drinking poison, period. Which is why you can drink too much of it, you're dead. So that's face value. That also will get me a lot of hate mail. So the balance to that is meeting people where they're at. So you say, okay, if you are choosing to drink versus other things other people can do, can you lower your alcohol tolerance? Can you flip the social stigma on its head and be super stoked being a lightweight and a cheap date, right? And how can you prime yourself before you drink and after you drink and everything like that? So, for example, if you are saying, I'm gonna go out and tonight I'll be drinking, well, one of the worst things you can do is drink and then say, I'm gonna coat my stomach so I can drink a lot and eat a lot of food. Because the first thing your body is gonna process is that alcohol, because it's not used to processing it and it's not real food and it's not good calories. So it's gonna say, well, I'm gonna try to figure out burning through this alcohol, and all that other stuff is going to get stored as body fat. First negative. Second thing is it's going to lower all your awesome hormones, your anabolic, muscle building, macho, testosterone, growth hormone levels. So, ooh, now you're less of a man if you can drink more because you're lowering those levels, which is why 35 years old, people are now going and getting all these, pills and stuff to try to be able to work right. So I say it's actually making you less macho by having a higher tolerance. And you work way better if you're doing 1 or 2 drinks. So yeah, your body's basically dumping toxins in. So the best thing you can do is find the least toxic version of it. So I've got a company called Dry Farm Wines that I've got a relationship with because simply it's organic, it's basically sugar-free, and it has no negative effect on, it doesn't have all the pesticides and garbage in it. So you're not getting this massive hangover and all these other things that people typically get when they're drinking all the time. Or I tell people, choose something that's like a punchy in the mouth thing like a scotch or a tequila or vodka where you only need a little bit and you don't need to put a bunch of sweetened stuff in with it. So now you're combining sugar and fat and alcohol at the same time.
Yeah, or you could always, it's almost just as bad to have like a mocktail that's full of sugar,
Totally.
isn't it?
Totally.
As it is to
Totally. You're like, yeah, if you're doing a mocktail, but you're like, can I have the sugar-free margarita? Or no, the alcohol-free margarita? And I'm like, you just dumped a Jamba Juice in your body. Sorry, Jamba Juice. I guess Snickers and Jamba Juice. And you just add 110 grams of sugar, plus a bunch of other chemicals to make it taste like a margarita, and you didn't get the alcohol. That's like, I don't know, it's like going on a date with yourself. Like, hey, you spend a lot of money, like why not have some company with you?
Yeah. Great stuff from Kyle Brown. Guys, this is golden information that you're getting here from celebrity fitness trainer Kyle Brown, the maker of Fit 365 shakes, which you can find in Whole Foods Marketplace and of course online. You can just search, what's the website now, Kyle?
Fit365.com, or Amazon's going to be probably the easiest way now that we're all not afraid of giving our credit card out over the internet. Which when we launched this, by the way, in 2005, people were afraid to give their credit card out over the internet. 100%. So it was a lot harder.
100%. And you've got a lot of different versions of this shake.
Yeah, so right now we've got a vanilla bean, we've got a gourmet chocolate, and we have our newest one, which is called Caramel Coffee Fettuccino. And it tastes like a Frappuccino with the same 75 milligrams of organic coffee caffeine in it.
And you have within here, there's probiotics, right? Isn't there living organisms in there or something?
Yes. So my intent with this is I wanted it to be something that tastes so good a kid would want it and be healthy enough that I felt good enough giving it to a kid. Because I firmly, minus the coffee version, but in general, minus caffeine, I don't think that there's really anything on the planet that at the age of 18, all of a sudden your body changes and now it's okay to put in your body. Right. So that kind of goes against 99% of the supplement market. Like, if it says words like explode and it tells you what it's going to do with your digestive system, you probably shouldn't put it in your body. It's a good rule of thumb. So for me, what we did with it was exactly that, is say, okay, what are a lot of the best supplements they sell in a health food store, and how do we put it all together into one thing? So we have 10 billion probiotics. We have digestive enzymes. We have colostrum for the immune system benefits. It's all grass-fed whey that's not a byproduct of cheese manufacture. And probably the most unique thing about this, besides the way it tastes, is the fact that you can look at the back and it quantifies all the immune system numbers, basically all the things that lead up to glutathione, which is your body's natural antioxidant. So you're sitting here and you can say, wow, okay, all these numbers here are for all the things that build you up and make you feel better, make you healthier, are all here quantified.
That's
awesome. Pretty cool.
Yeah, which is rare as well in the space. I don't know if anyone else does that.
Not in the retail market, no.
Yeah, incredible stuff.
A couple of medical stuff.
Kyle, thanks so much for coming in, man.
Thanks for having me.
Great to see you. Tremendous information. Love learning from you. Share this video because you are now smarter than everyone else. It's only fair if you allow your friends to be smarter than everyone else as well. We got a lot going on here at Smarter San Diego today, so stick around for more great content coming right up.